Hello, AV friends. Welcome to HETMA Presents Chair to Chair, the podcast where I sit down with the incredible leaders driving innovation and community within HETMA, the Higher Education Technology Managers Alliance. I'm Erin Maher-Moran, chair of HETMA's board of directors, and I'm excited to bring you into conversations that go beyond the day-to-day of technology management. Now, I am super excited for this one because this is an extra special episode. So let's just get to it and go chair to chair. So in the chair today, I have a man who needs no introduction in the higher ed AV space, Joe Wei. He is the executive director of digital spaces at UCLA and co-founder of HETMA, as well as the founder of Higher Ed AV Media. So thank you for chatting with me today, Joe.
Hey, thank you so much. That was so organized of a start. I'm so jealous. That was the most professional I've ever been on a show already. So we can just end it now because that's only going to go down from here. Now that I start saying stuff. I try to bring a little bit of the organization to my show, but so let's just jump right into this. So congratulations on being inducted into the SEN Hall of Fame and named to the top 100 innovators and entrepreneurs list. I know, it's crazy. Thank you. It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know what to say, honestly. So I've been thinking about this ever since, I kind of posted it and then Brian or someone's like, hey, this needs to be a chair to chair. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll say something. And even doing the interview for it, it's kind of, I don't know, surreal, to be honest. And I know that I'm supposed to be humble. That's the thing but I'm not. No, but
hashtag humbled and honored.
Yes. But I mean, the thing is it's weird in the sense that, well, obviously I'm completely honored. I really am. I mean, like it's obviously an honor to be, in SEN's the Hall of Fame. I mean, it is the big one for our industry. But even more so to be like, that there's never been an end user inducted. There's never been at least an active. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. But there's definitely never one there's been active higher ed people. And so I think that's kind of a huge step. And there is definitely a sense of kind of why me around it. Hopefully there is a sense that what HETMA's mission was, my mission has always been to align us as channel partners. And so I think that is where this honor shows, well, wait a minute, maybe that now has been accomplished, right? And we talk about this all the time in our circles, right? We always go, remember back at Infocom and you had the education badge and no one paid attention to it. And now, like we said, but I think this is kind of that next step into it going, well, the line has now been erased between kind of a them and an us. And we've never looked at it that way. And we've always advocated that it shouldn't be that way, even if the industry was that way. And so to be able to step out and go, you know what, we're being honored for the work that we've done is what's huge. And, and it really has taken a village. It's my name kind of on the honor, but I couldn't have gotten it without everybody else in our vertical and in my work and my staff and in you and everyone with HETMA and everyone along the way, right? It's taken all of that in order for this to even happen.
Absolutely. And so these are significant honors and but they represent something bigger in our field. And how important do you think awards and recognitions are specifically for the higher ed AV vertical?
Yeah. All right. So I know that's a good question. You should have your own show. Well, because it's a loaded question because I think there's a couple of different sides to it, right? People know, I love my honors and my awards and my trophies and all that stuff. But again, we can get to why that is in a whole different sub question. But I also founded the Higher Ed AV Awards, right? So obviously, I think they're important, or there wouldn't be that in existence anyway. But oh boy, how do I go with it? So yes, I like it because I have them. But on the other hand, does it make or break somebody? No, because there's also only so many to go around, right? That, there can only be one, AV Professional of the Year or Higher Ed AV Professional of the Year, Erin. There can only be one of somebody at any time, right? But that being said, I think that a lot of times in our vertical, we have to, argue for ourselves, right? I've always said, if I don't stand up for myself and advocate for myself, who will, right? And especially when we look at this in terms of our colleges and universities, how much in our conversations have we said, well, nobody pays attention to me and no one asks the AV person, and all of a sudden they got all this construction, then they're coming to us. It's like, well, that's their seat at that table, to be able to have that recognition from our peers, and no matter what it is, whether it be the hired AV side or SCNs, or whether it be any of the other great things with SCNs the 9 or 40 under 40 with commercial integrator. And I think all of these mean something because they show that we deserve a seat at the table. Right. I love them because I have a very low self-esteem, and therefore they build that up for me. But that I do think that there's value, and I think it's great because it does advocate for us, and especially in an industry, I'll say higher ed within our schools, that we're often overlooked. So if we can take a little bit of a spotlight and say, here, my industry is honoring me. That's why, Higher AV Awards even started, right? Was to say, look, we're going to take all these people who serve day to day to day in our schools, and maybe they can now go back to their institution and say, look, my peers appreciate what I'm doing, right? And now I think that with SCN, it's the same thing with the Hall of Fame, and even the top 100 innovators. It's saying, okay, now the wider industry has said, look, we value what you've done. And hopefully now, that shows that and gives that little extra perk at the, when I'm sitting at the table, I can go, hey, you know what? You might want to trust what I'm saying because my industry trusts what I'm saying. Yeah. So there we go. That's my thought.
Absolutely. So looking back at your career journey, and Joe has talked about it quite a bit on various podcasts, and most recently on the Higher Ed AV podcast with Amy Way as guest. And so, did you ever imagine you'd be receiving these kinds of recognitions?
All right, two answers, yes and no. How about that? No. And by the way, I so wanted to blow it on that recording, and share this. But I could. I knew it was coming out in like 2 days later, and I'm like, dang! But I can't say anything. It's. It's. How do I answer it? I mean, the yes, I am a perfectionist, and I also always look at, one of my early mentors kind of said, when you're doing something, recognize that, find who the best is and do what the best is, and then do more than the best is, because if the best is doing the best, they're going to stay the best. So you have to do more than the best to be the best. So I've always had that work ethic and that workaholic, side of me. So, and I'm a perfectionist and kind of being, kind of having that, innovator mindset, that visionary mindset. That side of it doesn't surprise me. But the flip side of it does surprise me because it's easy to have an idea. It's hard to make them work, to actually put it into effect, right? I could say that about HETMA, right? It's a great thing. It's been lightning in a bottle, but the fact is BC and I might have had an idea and it failed the next week. And we went, wait, what are you talking about? We never had that idea. What are you talking about, right? Same thing. I can have great ideas for, the technology innovation that I was able to do at USC and UCLA, but it takes a Chi and a team like that to make it happen. It takes Hunter, and project management to make these things happen, right? So in that sense, it's like, yeah, because a lot of stars have to align. And there's a lot of very, very deserving people, but maybe the stars didn't align. They didn't, it takes, I know this sounds horrible when I say it, but I'll say it because it's kind of truth. Would the same thing happen if I was still at Cal Baptist? And it's nothing against the school. I absolutely love the school. And one day maybe I'll go back. Who knows? But would it happen because sometimes, the fact is, elite R1s get attention, right? Certain things get attention. Loudmouths like me, people who throw parties and DJs and booths and put beer for 3 hours get attention, right? So I think that that's where I am surprised, because it's not just something you can go do and go, okay, I did one thing, and then all of a sudden it goes, okay, yeah, here, welcome, Hall of Fame, top innovator, whatever. And so, yeah, did I even answer the question? I said a lot. I don't even know that I answered the question, though.
You gave the best possible Joe Way kind of answer ever.
I just kept talking until everyone forgot what the question was, and then it makes it sound like it was, that it had some insight there.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I mean, there is definitely something to be said about the stars aligning and there being the just right opportunity at the right time. And luckily you've been at a couple of great institutions, USC, UCLA, that have kind of allowed for you to do some of these really amazing things.
Yeah. And I think that is the key too. And you didn't ask this question, but I'll answer it anyway. Like, advice I would give to other people is like, don't be afraid of taking that opportunity when it comes, because it doesn't always come very often, right? Like, I wouldn't have gotten the job at USC if it weren't for the work I did at Cal Baptist, right? They didn't have a department. I established a department. We did a campus-wide standardization. It was nothing innovative, but it was setting up a department, doing it, being kind of the business side. Well, and USC needed that. And that's what they were looking to hire, but they were doing digital transformation. They're like, let's go into the future. Well, I had a podcast, so I was talking to people. I was getting involved. I knew enough of the direction our industry was going in. And then I just walked into one of the most amazing bosses ever. And she's like, bring us crazy. Let's push the limits. Let's do that. And you get a budget, right? So, but that opportunity only comes once. And if I had not taken it and been, I've got a great thing here, and, now I can I don't know that this would happen. And so I think that that's where, the stars aligning, is also about taking the opportunity when it's in front of you and taking the risk when it's in front of you, because it doesn't come often. And you know what? Failure, who cares? That's the one thing I think that I also don't care about is failure, even though I have which is weird because I shatter my self-esteem on a daily basis. But failure, then do it again, and I know a lot of people aren't that way, especially when, I understand you kids and you got to pay bills and stuff like that. But if I get fired, I just get another job. Who cares?
That's a great way to be able to look at it. So we're talking about like these opportunities and stuff, and you've been recognized now as an innovator and entrepreneur with all of the the things you even did before higher ed AV. But innovation in higher education can be kind of challenging. So how do you approach it?
Oh, that's a good question. Another good question. You should still have a show. All right. I said this on this last AV in the AM, and I'm going to say the quiet part out loud again. I answered it to one of Chris's questions, and he had asked about kind of innovation and, all this stuff. Anyway, and I said, I hate to say it, but commercial AV is a very low bar for innovation. We're not very good at it. So you only have to be halfway decent to be one of the best. Okay, just being honest. As an industry, we are followers, right? And we hear that all the time. Like, how many people are willing to take risk and be bleeding edge? I am, right? I am someone who takes new ideas and go for it, and I don't think it through. That's just my downfall, right? I just go do it, whatever, because I don't care about failure. And so because we are an industry that does not do innovation well, does not attempt it well, AI is just rebranded camera tracking. Right. I mean, let's be honest, we're half PR than we are actually things that are tangible. And so because of that, it's been, I don't want to say easy in our industry, but it's been easy in our industry because once you start saying, I want to do crazy stuff, the other people who want to do crazy stuff start coming out of the woodwork and going, oh, I'll partner with you on that. I'll partner with you on that. I'm just waiting. They've been waiting for someone to come and say it. And, and then of course, being at institutions that allowed me to do that. Flip side of that, prior to coming into higher ed, I did come from the business development side of the entertainment industry. It's also easier for me because I wasn't a technologist. I didn't come and start by working a help desk at an institution and then work my way up and then go get, whatever, my Extron Crestron certification, then go get my CD, and then work my way to manage. I started in management. My entire career was opening a business, right? I started as a CEO, essentially, and had great business mentors. So that also allowed me to step into higher ed because, again, the bar was pretty low. I'm sorry, but it's true, right? Many people, especially in our vertical, don't think of things from a business point of view. Which is how I was able to probably get a lot done at Cal Baptist. I walked in, first thing is I asked them, reached out to the CFO and said, I need all the books, open up the books. And they're like, no one's ever asked me to see the books in this stuff. No one's ever wanted to do a forensic audit of all of our finances, see where things are. And it's like, well, that's what I did for 25 years, right? And so I think that has helped. And there, another question you didn't ask, advice to people. Go learn business and learn how to run your department as an actual business. Quit asking for money and earn money. There you go.
Right. Yeah. Now, has there ever been a time where you've championed an idea that people weren't ready for yet?
Oh, I'm sure, but I just let them go and forget about them. I just plausible deniability. What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Ask for forgiveness later.
I will say in higher ed, I've been lucky. Right. So I haven't had too many. There's probably been a few that, like if I look at how many different iterations higher ed AV has had. And I think we finally nailed one. But look, it was like the website changed 80 times and try this and do that. But if I look back my pre-commercial integration life, I had a couple of, as people might be aware, I was a part of a very famous show. And I had, I owned a very famous nightclub and did some things there. That was two things. Well, early on, I had a business thing and, just as much as you had, had great things. I moved to Dallas and had a $10 million business go under in 90 days. You know what it's like to fire 50 people because your idea was stupid? Well, that's not fun. But it's the truth. So the answer is yes. And again, those are things also teach you life lessons because, there's, firing 50 people and that's 50 people's families and now don't get fed. So you learn from it though. And hopefully the next time, and the next time happened to be a company that then was acquired. And so I think, so the answer is yes. And those failures the failures are needed, but it's what you learn from them and just let them go. I think I answered that question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely, failure is inevitable. But yeah, you have to, it's what you take away from that and what you learn from it. And don't make the same stupid mistake twice.
Mm-hmm.
So now how do you stay innovative in this field, in higher ed AV? What keeps you from getting stuck in the this is how we've always done it kind of mode?
Oh, yeah, because I'm not an operational person. Everyone knows that. I'm a very disorganized person. I hate operations. I like new ideas. Maybe that's why, and I think I said this on the episode, I don't do anything for more than 3 years, okay, because I get really bored. So once things turn into managing operations, I'm out. I can't do it. I need new ideas, and that's just me and who I am. And hopefully the people who hire me really know that. Don't hire me if you don't want change, okay? And not only that, I probably wouldn't take the job if it was just about keeping things rolling and status quo. And then also, so that's one part of it. And so it's also finding those bosses who go, hey, this is kind of what we want. We want innovation. We want to be able to do that. But then it's also loading up your team. Right. I've also been very blessed that I've walked into a couple situations, actually all three in higher ed AV, all three schools, where we were building teams from scratch. Okay, well, guess what? If you build teams from scratch, you can then put all of the pieces together that you need in order to innovate. And the people who are the operational people that every organization needs that I hate doing, and I can load a staff with those things and fill in the pieces. So, so I think that that's it, and it's a mindset too. I do have that on my staff knows, like, don't get comfortable, because as soon as I see you're comfortable, I'm going to throw some crazy idea at you and you're going to hate me for it. But, so you better keep moving and keep moving forward. And that's, again, that's just that's who I am. And we also have a great industry too. I mean, I think that our manufacturer partners, and we see this a lot with HETMA, are ones who really want to work with us. It's amazing how if you say, I want to do something crazy, I want to innovate, I want to do it, they'll throw resources at you to do this. Because as we've said, they want to make products that we want to buy, and we want to make products that will work for us, right? I mean, and that's what we want. So I think that it becomes a win-win. I think.
So you've been such an influential mentor to so many people in this field. I mean, myself included. So was mentorship something you intentionally cultivated, or did it just kind of happen organically?
Yeah. I think that's also something about me. I was, again, going back at where I wouldn't have this recognition today, if it weren't for mentors early in my career. I walked in, very, very early, both even starting in college, I had great, and everyone has great faculty members and professors they connect to. But as soon as I graduated and moved across the country for a random business idea, because it was a great mentor. I moved for the mentorship, and it taught me everything I needed to know about business. And so in that, I know that anything I did wouldn't have been possible without that early mentorship. So I think it's been something that's been part of, as soon as I built my businesses and I had staff, I've always looked for those young early professionals. That's always just been something that's kind of dear to me. Young career professionals and mentoring them. And I don't know, and maybe it's again because I think it's what I had. And I had an incredible one. So that's where I always look to give back. And I look at that, and I look at, staff that I have that started as student workers, and we all someone started student work, and they get it. And like, that makes me proud to see that type of things, and see people who kind of become their own, to hold their own in the industry, without my name, not because they work for me, because of the amazing person they are. And if I can help people and give them those resources to develop their career, that's where the the joy comes from. But okay, the joy comes from. But also, I'm also at the stage of life. I got, grandson and a granddaughter on the way in a month. So it's like, also at the time of career, I'm also thinking of how do I get out? So it's also, there's only so much time to give back as well. Right. And there's only that many opportunities. So I think that's also just the natural change, as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you hope people take away from working with you or learning from you?
Oh, that's good. Well, first, don't do the stupid stuff I do. Okay. That's the first thing. I do a lot of stupid stuff, so don't follow that part of it. But I think more than that is just, don't be fearful. And I see so much of that. I don't know if it's just maybe because it's a pet peeve of mine. I see it a lot, but there are people I mentor as well, or close friend who literally, sorry, I know you know exactly who I'm talking to when I say it, who I mentor, on a quarterly basis, and probably redone this person's resume, 15 times, but they've never applied for a job outside of it. It's like, gotta take the step. You've got to risk it, right? Because time just goes by, and you owe it to yourself and all that to kind of take that next step. Like I said, what's the worst thing that happens? It doesn't work and you're just in the same place you were. Okay, well, if you don't do anything, you're in the same place you were. So I think that's it. Kind of seek mentors, but that's easy. I mean, but just don't be afraid. Take the risk. It's worth it.
you once said to me that you'll hold open a door. Like if there's an opportunity, you will hold open a door. But if I didn't walk through it, that door may not open again.
Yep.
And to just walk through it. So, and that's one thing that really stuck with me, that I'm like, anybody that when I tell people, I'm like, now that the door has been held open for me, so I'm going to try to hold the door open for as many people as possible. But if I open that door, you better walk through it, because if you don't, that door may not open again.
100%. That is great advice. Gosh. But it is true, right? And there's only so much we can do. The door getting open, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the opportunities only come so often, right? But yes, the door can get open. And that's what I've done in my work. I owe it to everybody else to open doors. I also enjoy it, opening doors for people. But like I said, once someone, one, have the courage to walk through, but two, once you get there, now it's up to you. Now you got to do something, or else you're just relying on the laurels of the person who opened the door for you. You're still not and then what happens if something happens to that person, right? But once the door is open, guess what? There's other new people in that room. There's new people to learn from. There's new people to grow with. And then it will then take you to that next step. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's still, and I've said before, I would follow you anywhere. And I know I'm not alone in feeling that way. What do you think creates that kind of trust and loyalty?
Oh, I don't know. You tell me. I have no idea. People are stupid to do that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if I'd follow me. No, let's, I just hope that it comes through that I have everybody's best interest in mind and they know that, right? Yes, I am, I'm a larger than life kind of figure, and I like doing things, I do like things for me, right? And I am a attention hog, right? We know that. But that being said, when I bring people along for the ride and I help people get somewhere, that I really want them to be successful. I don't want it to be about me. I know it it can be, how many times I say it can't be the Joe show. It can't be this, right? But I really do want that of people. And so I want everyone to kind of share in that glory and then take it somewhere else, right? And, for things and legacies to kind of matter, they have to live on beyond the person who did it. And also making those people better along the way. So I don't know. You tell me what makes people, I assume, I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think it's the interesting dichotomy that is like, you are larger than life and way out there, but then we also see the other side of Joe that is very, is putting in all of the work because there is a feeling that it's never enough, or it's needs to always be more and better. And I think a lot of people see that in themselves. I know I do a lot of times, like imposter syndrome and all of these things. And I always bigger, better, got to do more, got to do all the perfect things. And to see somebody who has gotten to your height and status in our industry, and to see that there is the outward side of you that seems super confident and does all the innovative things and pushes the envelope, but then to know that there is that other side that is kind of a little bit more human, a little more like the rest of us. And I think that that's part of it, that we're I see you, I see that in me. But then it's but then I can also, I can be that larger than life also.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. And I think a lot of times, I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of times people don't realize the work it does take to do it, right? Going back to saying I was very early on, like, whatever the top person is doing, you've got to do more than that if you want to be there. And you have to keep pushing. And that's what, I mean, I think you see it all the time. I'm always never satisfied. And so, but I think a lot of times people think, oh, they see the Joe that's at, the top or whatever, and just assume that it's always been there. Well, no, I'm not. You realize it's 9 months. See, it was July. So 9 years and 6 months is all I've been in the commercial integration side. That's it.
Amazing.
But I was a nobody. That's why I started the podcast initially. That's why I, went to my first, ETC, CCUMC at the time. Like, I don't know people. I don't even know what this thing is about. I'm faking it as I make, as I go along. I don't even know that Cal Baptist should have hired me. But, but I made it through. And so I think a lot of times you think, okay, you see people at the end, or you see, and this is true in any industry, anything in life. You see the people who are, kind of at the top of the game and you assume that they've always been there. Well, they weren't, right? Everyone was bussing tables at one time in their career. Okay. That's just the nature of it. We all worked fast food at some point. Okay. We all started somewhere and had to build upon it. And so I think that's one of the things that I'm glad you said that, because the work is it. And yes, the larger in life part, that gets to what's my saying, always have a gimmick, right? That was one of my, again, same first mentor told me that too. So the larger than life, I don't want to say it's an act, but I know when to turn it on, and then when I turn it off, I turn it off. It's like when I'm at home, most people have no idea, like, that I'm this kind of, like, they have no clue about, all of our little lake friends until they start seeing it. They're like, wait a minute, you're somebody. Wait, what? And I'm like, well, nah. But when I'm on and when I'm there to promote something or do something, it's just like, it's like I don't want to say it's like an actor, but it's like an actor, right? When they're playing a scene, you're playing a scene. And so, but behind that, all of the work and hard work has to go in before you get to that, or else everyone will see that it's not authentic, right? Yeah. And I would even add to what you're saying, and hopefully what comes through to add more to the answer. Now I actually have an answer to your question. I hope people see that I actually care. Right? This isn't just to do something for the sake of doing something. I do something just for me, but I really do care that other people are successful. I do care that the project I'm on is successful. And I think and hope that that's what comes across.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you'd said the word legacy. And so for Christmas, my husband bought our in-laws this deck of cards that essentially was for the family, that you pull a card and it's supposed to be a question that, like, the kids ask the grandparents, and just to try to learn more about them. Because a lot of times the kids don't really know, like, how the grandparents grew up and stuff like that. And so we thought it'd be really fun. The first card drawn was, what do you want your legacy to be? And we were like, oh, for crying out loud. But it makes me think, like, how do you think about your legacy, both like at UCLA now and in the broader AV, higher ed community?
Yeah. Good question. I've been thinking a lot about this, to be honest, because, and I don't know, maybe I think it's the grandkids thing. I think it's the stage of life thing. Here, I'll get morbid. Amy and I have been talking about, what do we want to do when we die? Like, do you want to be cremated, buried, whatever? And I don't care. To my answer is, I don't care. Throw me off a cliff. I don't care. I'm dead. But I said, you know what? Why don't you buy like a bench on the lake? And I don't know why. I don't go sit on people's benches at the lake, to be honest. Like, it's not something but I was like, that I could see that, because I want people to think, and go, I'm a better person, or my life has been impacted because I knew him, and it was better impacted in a better way because I knew him, because I worked with him, because he was my father, grandfather, because he was my coworker. And I think that's where it kind of comes down to me, that someone can go, Yes, when asked the question, at my, I guess both people who will show up at my funeral, say, when they ask, what did that mean to you? Someone can start, my life was impacted in a better way because ... and they can fill in the blank without having to think about it. And maybe that's what I want, and it might mean something different for everybody. At UCLA, now to answer your question, at UCLA, I think, we have a unique opportunity. Again, I love coming in places like it's the technology had been, 20 some years, 1990. There's rooms that are 1994 still. Okay. 2005 was the last major upgrade. So literally 21 years ago, or 2006, so 20 years ago. So I think, again, it's going to be a low bar. I don't have to do much to already make a major impact. But I do want it to be, again, I want it to be able to kind of go, other schools start looking at it. And that's what happened at SC, right? We designed hybrid learning before hybrid learning was needed. Yeah, now thousands of schools have it. Just dumb luck. And so I want to see the same thing at UCLA, that it became a status in the industry. And here's a fun fact. I don't know if you tell it. I actually recuse myself from all decisions. So I don't actually make any of the technology decisions at UCLA. This is me turning over and trusting the staff that was hired, and they do it. So really, I just want to create the roadmap there for them to be successful. And I want their name on it, and I want them to get the glory for it. So that's that. And then the greater higher ed AV community. I just really want to hope that people look back and go, we wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for him. And I don't mean that in a selfish way, but again, it goes back to saying that there was an impact, and that our industry sees things different. And I think that's when I look at the SCN Hall of Fame, I think, well, maybe that is one tangible sign that it is, right? It's easy to do press releases. I shouldn't say it's always easy. It's easy to get press releases and articles or whatever, but to have a completely third-party publication go, we're going to tap this person for this award and this recognition, hopefully is one tangible sign that I've done that in one way.
Yeah. And I mean, you and BC kind of, had created HETMA, and, and hopefully, it's something it's you built something that's going to last, hopefully. But,
that's up to you.
Right. But HETMA has grown kind of far beyond what you and BC had initially created. And what has it been like watching it evolve?
Oh, yeah. It's been amazing. That's a horrible answer. It's I think about this all the time because, people ask, is this what you guys thought it'd be? No, we had no idea what this would be. We saw after the Panasonic trip that there was a use for what we did there, and being able to advocate and be able to have this influence with manufacturers. That was it. That's why we started. That simple. And we knew there was a gap, and there was a gap there between end user, customer, the power and influence we could have, and where the industry stood. Everything else that exists is because the membership themselves said, and people know, what's my famous line? I think we should do blah, blah, blah. Great. Congratulations on being the chair of that committee. Good luck. Tell us the resources you need for that. And I think that little sense of allowing it to be organic is what's made it be what it is. 20-some initiatives we have, who knows? I'm just, even right before this call, I'm working on the graphics for the ISE booth, and it's like, I can't even find space on this thing. And it's a meter by a meter, and I can't even list everything. Sorry, 984 millimeters. So yes, just under, not quite a meter. And so I think, when I look at this org, I'm very confident now that it will live beyond us. I actually don't have any reservations. Would I in the past? Sure. Stepping down, was it hard to do? Yes.
You are not great at letting go of the reins.
I'm still not. If you listen to the Amy episode, that is my goal, is shut up and let people do that. I'm trying really hard to let other people speak first. Okay. That's, but again, that's who I am. Doesn't mean, but I am very confident if something happened to me or I truly did like just disappear, I'd see HETMA in the news over and over and over and over again, just as it always as it did. I have no doubt about that. And that legacy of the organization will be something that, they'll be celebrating a centennial in 100 years or 94 years.
Right. Yeah. That'd be amazing. So looking at where HETMA is today versus where it started, what surprises you the most?
Good question. From where it started. The change in the people that are that get involved, and I don't want to say just the way it's impacted people's lives, because I kind of hoped it would and knew it would. But if you see, there's been a change of guard, right? From the initial, say, 10 steering people, while some are still very involved, it was easy to kind of take, okay, where's 10 people who are some, okay, I only knew 10 people. So, here, you want to help us? You want this crazy idea? But now to look at everybody who continues to get involved, who finds it and steps in and takes on a chair or volunteers in some way, I would have never guessed that. And to see the ideas continue on their own, is kind of that's the thing. I think also, just seeing it, it's a real business and a real organization. Not that it wasn't, but it is. And if I look at the way, I'll take Atkins, the way he runs this thing and runs our finances. We got a CPA, these are things that I sit there and go, this thing is in good hands. And that a little bit surprised me. Again, goes back to, I'm not an organizational person. I know it's a surprise of people that I used to own tons of successful companies, but I had great people behind it. And that's where I see it. And I see it continuing to change and evolve. And every time that someone has stepped down, there was always someone else to step up into it. And that to me is a sign of a healthy organization.
Absolutely. What aspects of HETMA's current work, are you most proud of?
Well, all right. I'm going to to answer the question, I'm going to have to say I really like how Ryan and all the other volunteers, Mike and Chris and all that, are taking over Hired AV. I feel that's really in its own thing now. And yes, I'm still kind of doing things, and I'm doing a lot because we just changed the template over, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like that one, I could just stop doing everything, right? And it's like, oh, I enjoy doing my podcast again because I'm not running the whole media thing, right? So that to me, to see, okay, that's one aspect. The community and what we've done there, and saying, right, we just had we had the BRM meeting with and saying half the members have gotten involved in some way over the last month. That's pretty darn impressive. Now, we got to work on engagement, but the fact is it's there. That means that people do see us as a home in some form, right? So that's probably it. That being said, I guess a side answer to that, and I don't know if it amazes me the most or whatever, or our global reach, but our global reach isn't there. I'm going to go back and answer your question as something that failed. There's been a recent failure, I think, in HETMA. And that was, and again, and I'm going to say, I'll put it on me, right? My goal in life is Pinky in the Brain, take over the world. Okay. That's it. That's my goal. And we've always been an advocacy organization. I think I pushed it more toward a world dominations organization. I'm not lying. Is anyone going to disagree with that? No,
not at all.
And I think that was a mistake. And so I think as we now repivot and we look at, say, the EdTech Congress, there's a cluster of 20 different organizations around Europe that now we're able to partner with and come alongside, which now gets HETMA back to its initial purpose, advocating and helping others. Yeah. And I think that I let it get away from that, and I pushed others to come along with me in getting it away from that. So now I think this might be my answer to your question. To now see, okay, no, we've been able to, what you've been able to do with it, realigning our purpose, coming back and say, okay, we're now going to come alongside others to lift everybody else up. And then we do all the stuff we do because we have to be a strong organization, a large organization, a well-resourced organization, a well-funded organization to do that. But we can't let that part of it take over the purpose and get away from the purpose. So I think I answered your question.
Yes.
I think I did.
Very good. Yeah. So how has your role at UCLA informed or has been informed by your work with HETMA?
Oh yeah. No, another good question. I'll be honest. So even my boss said this the other day. So she was asking, because obviously she sees all this, the HETMA stuff and this and that, like what, and there's obviously, it's a hard line to walk, right? Who are you representing? You represent, are you here for UCLA? I mean, I know people think that, right? Like, so what do you do? But she even said, she's like, okay, I have this question about this. Go hit your network. Leverage your network for this. Like that was okay. There's an advantage to building this huge global, organization, because when I need to know something, guess who I can tap into? One little question out. Now I've got, 25 answers publicly and another 25 that DM'd me and jump on a call. And so I will say that my role is having that network behind us, having the voices and going, okay, who's done X, Y, Z and, or whatever. And I can find that. And I think we've all been that way. If you have any random idea or something you want to do, you'll get, be honest, most of it is DMs from vendors who want to sell you something. But that does give you the information to know how to now make wise decisions. I will also say too, one of my weaknesses, it's still my weakness at UCLA. I write it's like every year on my performance review and my self-evaluation, I write the same thing. So obviously I'm never going to learn. But one of the things is I'm not great working across. Yeah, maybe it goes back to the same thing of, why I tried turning HETMA into world domination, not going into our original mission of keeping us as a partner org. But it's the same thing. I'm very good at running my vertical, running my department, and doing that as a well-oiled machine. I suck at working across. And that's where I've learned the most, even at my UCLA role, because now I'm executive leadership. I can't run my verticals because I got 5 of them. Because of that, I have to step away. I have to trust the team to do their work. And I now, sitting at the executive leadership part, I've been able to now have that influence in ways that now help my team because I've stepped and look outside, and HETMA's had to do that. And so to finally answer your question, for us to be successful, it's taken that. It's working with the manufacturer part. It's working. We couldn't have just walked in and said, we want to be channel partners. No one's going to trust us until we put the work in to show we deserved it. And it meant, okay, make those relationships with who are the key people at all the manufacturers, who are the key people at our integrators, where does the channel work, how does the channel line work, how do we get, and I think I've been able to take that skill and now use that at UCLA for our pilot we did. Okay, well, guess what? It was really easy to work with networks, really good to work with facilities. Why? Because I now sit at that level and I've been able to get in and talk their language and bring that back to my team to give my team, here's what this person wants. Here's what this person cares about. And I think that's helped. And I learned that through HETMA's reach within the great industry.
Okay. So there's so many, in preparation for this conversation, I have so many questions. We probably could have a 3-part podcast. But so in order to kind of cut through some of these, I actually, I had questions about the industry evolution and some other things. But what I think what people might find more interesting is more, the more personal reflection things. So beyond the professional accomplishments that you have and these accolades that you've been given recently, what are you most grateful for in your journey?
Most grateful for. Good question. The people that I've been able to like, and it goes right back to my first things is I've been very blessed to have incredible coworkers, incredible mentors, incredible people, like yourself stepping into this organization. You like, it can't be dumb luck, right? So maybe this happens for everybody, but you've got to like, of just bringing in and trusting it. And I think that's always, I've had incredible friends, relationships. That's it. I mean, I know we always talk about this as a relationships industry, but it's true. And I think that's just being able to not just say, to be able to call so many people friend. And I think that's it. And I know we're all in this for business reasons and paychecks and it's work. But it goes beyond that. And so I think that's it.
Okay.
That's going to be the hardest part to ever leave. Because I'm not leaving a job and a paycheck. I'm leaving people and relationships.
Yeah, that is hard. So we've talked about you being a bit of a workaholic and just always doing. How do you maintain that while avoiding burnout?
Alcohol? No. No. Well, one, it's the nature of who I am, right? Like I hate myself more in doing nothing than the burnout and overtired of always doing something, if that makes sense, right? So I think it's kind of more of my nature too. Sitting and doing nothing drives me nuts. So, but I do have to be intentional. Like, I'm blessed to live in kind of two vacation homes in a way, right? One on a lake, one on a golf course. So I have to be intentional to go and do something that's not work. Of course, I'm still scrolling my phone and checking it, all that. But so I think it's that. And, the social side of our industry is equally important. And I think it's what keeps me, it's step away from the work. But yeah, I think more of it is the flip side would drive me nuts a lot more.
Right. Yeah. And so for somebody who's listening that wants to make the kind of impact that you've made, where should they start?
Oh, good. Reach out to me. And I'm happy to. No, actually, I can't take on more mentees. But all right, here, I'll give you a couple of easy steps. First, do a real heart-to-heart evaluation of yourself, where you are. Take a check of what is the reality of my situation, and then know why do you want to move from it. Because it won't be successful just because, I want to, I want to make more money. Okay, those are all fine, but why? What will your life change if you make more money or you get this award or, hey, I want to be next year's project of the year. I want to be next year's whatever. Okay, great. There's nothing wrong with that. But why? What will it do for you? And are you willing to sacrifice what it takes to get it? Because it's not just about having a goal. The goal is actually the easy part. It's all the steps along the way. And I think and you have to have that, don't give up. And again, I'm not a write out your steps and do this. I'm not organized, but I always have my goal in mind, right? And I always know that every day I'm doing something else to get toward it. And so that's it. Do a true reality check and then talk to your family, and let them know that if I'm really going to do this, that, they're also going to have to sacrifice. And in some way, and I think it's even if, I think a common one for people, I want to go back to grad school. That sounds great. You know what? What's the why? Oh, because if I have, master of an MBA, I'm going to be able to get a better job. My work pays, 5% more for people to, okay, great. You're going to talk to your spouse and let them know that 5 nights a week you're going to be studying and that they're going to be taking care of the kids. And now there's going to be a little more takeout rather than cooking at home, which now costs more money. Not to mention, so I think that you have to understand the flip side and the sacrifices to the things that come with that. And then be okay with it. And then once you've got the okay, go do it. And know that it's hard, And I think that's and that's fine. But the reward is worth it.
Oh, what's next for you? What are you excited for? What are you going to explore?
I would say sleep, but that'd be untrue. Next for me, that's a good question. I don't know, actually. Well, I mean, because if you think about it, I mean, there's no more industry recognitions to get that I don't already have.
Right.
The only one I don't have is, 40 under 40, and I can't get that one. So, and to be honest, I actually thought about, it's a good question. I was thinking about this. I'm like, what am I going to do next? So I really think over this next year, and oh boy, yeah, in 2 hours, I'm supposed to give to my boss and our team meeting our word of the year, and I don't have my word of the year yet. But so maybe I'm going to work it out on this show right now. And I think that the thing is let go. That's the one that comes to me. And I think that that's more than delegate.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that the management thing and the leadership, and I could say that from co-founder of HETMA and executive director at UCLA, of delegate, let the people do more. It's very different. Let go is very different.
Yeah.
And I hope she lets that, because that's 2 words. Hopefully she'll let it go. Maybe I have to do a chat GPT. Please tell me a 1 word for meaning let go. So I think that that's it. I think that's what's next. And then just be that resource for others, and because if I do let go, I now have the bandwidth, because I will get exhausted if I will get bored, and I'll have to find something to do, in which case I'm going to end up jumping myself back in, and then use that open bandwidth to now create and use that bandwidth to get the resources for others to do that I'm letting go, and help. So I think that's, yeah. Thank you. Now I feel good for my meeting this afternoon.
Right. Okay. So before we wrap up, what's one thing you want the higher ed AV community, the HETMA community, to know or to remember?
I just want you all to know that you are good enough for whatever it is you really think you want to be and achieve. That's it. And it doesn't matter where you want to go. And I really mean that. Because I definitely think, in an industry of introverts, and we talk about this, confidence is the number one thing that I feel is lacking, not ability. And we're in an industry of the smartest people. And incredibly good people and good hearts who really care. And that's why I've been impacted by it. But there is a confidence lacking, I see a lot of. So to know that's, I would have to say a lot of my success comes with, again, the fact that I don't give a crap, right? Like, I'll go for it.
We all know that's not true, though. You absolutely give a crap.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean. Okay, I don't care if it fails.
But you're willing to.
I'll risk it. I have a very high risk tolerance.
There.
Okay. And I do care that the thing succeeds. So I'll go, all out for it. But so I think that's, I don't know if I like that answer, but I think it's good. I think if a little shot of confidence in our industry, would be great,
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Erin. This was fun. I like being a guest. This is fun.
Yes, I know, right? Very interesting being on the other side of the conversations.
I know. I didn't know I could talk about myself. Actually, I lie. I do know I can talk about myself for an hour.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you for your vision in co-founding HETMA and creating something that has touched so many lives and careers. And thank you for your mentorship, your leadership, and your unwavering commitment to lifting up others. And thank you for sharing your story with us today. Your wisdom, your humility, and your genuine care for this community shines through in everything that you do. Being inducted into the SCN Hall of Fame and named to the top 100 innovators and entrepreneurs list. They're incredible honors, but I think what makes you truly remarkable is that anyone that knows you isn't surprised by these recognitions. You've been building this legacy, one relationship, one innovation, and one act of mentorship at a time for years. These recent accolades are simply the world catching up to what we in the HETMA community have already known, that you're extraordinary. To everyone listening, I hope Joe's story inspires you to think about your own legacy, not just in terms of what you accomplish, but in how you show up for others, how you champion innovation while staying grounded in purpose, and how you build things that outlast you. That's what true leadership looks like. If you've been impacted by Joe's work, whether through HETMA or his innovations at USC and UCLA, or through his willingness to mentor and guide others, I encourage you to reach out to him and let him know. Behind every great leader is a community that chose to follow. And Joe, you've earned that following 1,000 times over. And from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the entire HETMA community, congratulations on these well-deserved honors. We're so proud of you and so grateful for you and so excited to see what you'll create and inspire next. So thank you for everything you've given this community and to me personally. So I'm Erin Maher-Moran. This has been Chair to Chair. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to HETMA Presents. This show is a production of Higher Ed AV Media. Please visit higheredav.com to learn more about this show and a host of others. The views expressed here are not necessarily those of our respective institutions, employers, or sponsors. We'll be back soon with another installment of HETMA Presents.